I'm not sure if he's on his water rafting trip. We'll see if he chimes in. Hmm. Where are you at, Sean? Looks like he's not coming. Oh, okay, you are there.
Yeah, I'm just lollygagging.
Greetings.
Hey, good morning.
Uh, when are you going on your canoeing trip?
Well, I'm leaving to drive up there tomorrow, but and then we enter in on Sunday and exit on Wednesday. So
Cool.
yeah,
I've been building a or continuing the development of this rental system on top of the inventory system. And I don't know, I feel like I probably have like a couple days left with the actual like service. And then I got to start building out the user experience for it.
cool.
Mm, writing automated tests, streaming the act of doing so, refactoring it, reconsidering some of my decisions about all primary keys being of type integer versus a GUID. And life would be so much easier if things were just a GUID.
Yeah, I use goods.
Uh,
Um, Actually, I was having this conversation with myself in my head yesterday about because the place I'm at now they use a lot of integers, and I'm this new project that I'm working on. I'm focusing on using goods, and I was trying to make sure I knew my justifications in case anybody says, "Hey, why don't you use integers here?" But the
well, I mean, from what I captured, and feel free to like correct me, like the performance gains of integers on a primary key isn't really noticeable until you start hitting, I thought, like the hundreds of, well, I thought like millions. Is that accurate, or do you know?
I'm not sure. Um,
Because I mean, it's a trade off of, I know definitely like ints are preferred in regards to performance, but then like in regards to hacking the system, GUIDs are preferred because they're not predictable.
yeah, and that's the thing that any sort of publicly facing ID. That's the reason I do it. Is because otherwise with integers you definitely are open to like you open yourselves up more to direct object reference attacks. So you just increment the number and see what you get. And if somebody wasn't doing their due diligence, um, you get somebody else's stuff. But with goods, that's the likelihood of that's pretty limited. Um, but I don't know. I would assume that the indexing code probably knows how to hash and to hash and get back numbers really fast for a GUID unique identifier. Um, just using an index. So one of the things that with SQL Server though that I understand is that from my last gig that somebody had a real big deal is to make sure that your GUIDs aren't oh gosh, they aren't your it's not primary key, but it's the term's escaping me right now, but
Identity.
no, it's a okay. So there's clustered indexes and non-clustered indexes. A clustered index should be an integer value, and the tables I think usually will have at least one of these clustered indexes, or maybe they can only have one. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that stuff is. I hear that term probably like quarterly throughout the year, but I still don't. I still haven't taken time to actually figure out what a clustered index is.
Yeah, but if it's the for whatever reason, if you make it a GUID, it's and I can't remember the exact
Slow.
reasons for it, but it's a lot slower than. So in my last gig, and then I've just this carried this practice forward now is for like in an entity framework, I'll add a shadow um, property for a integer index on something that has a primary key of a GUID, and I'll make that the clustered index. So if you wanted to query on the clustered index or whatever, but I think it has to do with something with inserts, maybe, or I don't know. But it's definitely supposed to be slower to use that enough where we had like a guideline.
Mm.
Between that and then not using nvarchar max was another thing, where performance, if you keep it under, or if you use constrained nvarchar, it's a lot faster. So
I mean, okay.
there's reasons for that too.
I mean, I know there's reasons. It's just sometimes you don't know. Like for example, when there's like a document or something, and you're saving it in SQL, like you don't know. You can try to enforce a limit. No, no, I guess that's a rare. I guess that's the edge case. So
Yeah, no, they have their places. It's just the I think the maxim is to just always use constrained column like
yeah,
lengths whenever
I'll
possible.
always waste like 20 seconds of my life trying to figure out how long an email field should be. And so I think usually I just set the standard as 30 characters. Um,
That's too short, isn't it?
Probably.
It's way too short. Emails are like, I mean, it's the name of a domain name plus an at symbol and whatever, isn't it? Like, if you Google it, they give you what the max length of an email should be. 320 characters.
Okay, I guess I'll update my column.
Yeah, 30 characters is real small. So,
And then also like the the first name, last name, but then like in different cultures, man, those people they'll have like four middle names embedded between their first name and last name. And so it's like, I'm like, F that. I'm not entertaining that. That's their parents' fault. So
I've always entertained
it's
about
I have
fluidity.
50 characters here. The email I have said is 50 characters.
Oh,
You said that's too short.
yeah, you want it like 320.
320? You said 120 like a
No, I
minute
said
ago.
320. 320.
No, I'm not doing that. Like, because I mean, the majority of consumers are going to have Gmail, Yahoo, or some other like mainstream
Well,
email.
yeah, but why does it matter? It's not more expensive if you're using nvarchar to put a 320 limit because the database will only use what it needs for space. It's
Then why
just you
not
don't
just
want
have
to.
nvarchar without any number?
Yeah, there is a reason for that. I could try to I could find the technical doc, but it's like
No one's going to type in their email that's 300 something characters. That's a machine. That's a user. That's not an actual person. I'll make it 100.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, yeah, but you don't know. You could be at somebody's, like, you could have a really long name with a company that has a really long, domain name.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, that you don't get to choose. There's weird things like that. Like,
But people aren't going to type that whole thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, the thing is if it's so the isn't this a risk analysis kind of thing though? Like,
Yeah,
you'd think nobody's going to do it, and then somebody
in the
comes up,
wild.
somebody out there uses like just this absurd email address, and then they send in a ticket, and now you're doing a bug fix for it when you could just put a 320, to start with, and just call it a day, because it's no real cost or whatever.
Okay, so this right here is 53 characters. So you're telling me that someone is literally going to type this is 100 characters, right? You're telling me to multiply that by 3 or and it's legitimate to expect someone to have an email this long.
No, I'm saying that
And that's still
you're
200. Hold up.
I'm saying most people aren't going to have it. I'm saying that that's the maximum length of what they can possibly do. And so if you want to make sure that you support every possible email address
No, I don't
with
want to
with
support every possible email
with with
address.
with no chance of having to come back in here to for one disgruntled customer who decides that they're going to put in a giant email address. Um, you know. But yeah, I don't expect that somebody would put in that big. That's assuming that I found the correct answer for what it is. Um,
Enough that.
yeah, it's because the maximum length of the reverse or forward path is 256.
Because I mean, I thought mine was long. Scott.nimrod at bizmonger.net. Right. And so your argument is that it could be the think tank 2020. What's really long? Are they pretty much, do they stop at like 3 characters for a domain extension? There's gov, io, com, net, web. Yeah. So this right here,
Yeah, it's like I said, it's
33.
you're right. It's like it's absurd to have anything that long. That doesn't mean that people don't have them, but yeah. And actually, I mean, there might be a use case where you want to put in really long addresses and have like GUIDs for test cases, like automated tests, and just put in like crap there so that you don't accidentally conflict with real email addresses. But
Yeah.
hmm.
So, you know anybody that owns an Airbnb?
No. Well, no, not direct. I know like through. Um, yeah, no, not really. I know of people who I'm acquaintances with that have done it, but I don't really talk to them.
So I approach random people, um, Airbnb. I approach random people and take a survey, and so I was asking, I don't know, her husband looked like he was praying or something. He had a beard. I assume, well, and that's the East. So I assume he's probably from Philly. A lot of black people from Philly with beards are Muslims. Anyways, while he was doing this thing, I had asked his partner, like, hey, how much did y'all pay for that rental of the chairs and umbrella? And she was like, oh, it was provided by the hotel. We didn't pay any extra. We didn't pay anything extra for it. And I'm like, Really? So I'm like, okay, so these chair rental uh, companies or small businesses have like partnerships with these hotels, in which I would assume that these hotels just add in the rental fee for that room per night. And so if that is the case, then what's really stopping me from targeting Airbnbs that are extremely close to the beach and establishing partnerships with some of these Airbnb owners saying, hey, if you consider adding packages or options for your Airbnb so that for an additional, let's say, $30 a night, that that person will get um, at least once per day, right? Because it's not going to be anytime they go out to the beach for that day, but once per day, uh, they're taken care of at the beach in regards to uh, a beach recliner and an umbrella, and there's a free delivery charge, or the delivery charge is waived, right? I'm thinking about like once I actually get this thing like running and tested, and like I have some confidence in my one transaction a day for a week, then I'm thinking about pitching this to Airbnb owners that are close to the beach. I mean, it's the model is done with hotels, so like, why not, right? And
Yeah.
this is where you destroy my idea.
No, actually, it's a really good idea. But why not? Synergies, like with other things, are like great ways to
Scale.
yeah, to just get your name out there and to get confidence and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah. And then
partnerships. Yeah.
the kickback. I don't know. I assume I give them an additional $10 kickback for each night.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the revenue model would be, but I think the idea
Not
is,
either, man.
yeah, I
I,
don't know if they pay you.
I'd be pulling.
It's only if they use it, kind of a thing.
No, they get charged regardless. Like, like for the Airbnb model, if they don't use it, they lose it. Like, nah.
Well, I mean, it could
But
be
they
that.
opt into the bundle, right? So you can do without like a normal Airbnb, or you could do that bundle where you get service or perks for the beach. And if you don't use it, well, you opt into it, so you lose. So
Yeah, or they have it where they include it in their normal stuff, and then they just gamble that they're not going to use it, 50% of the time, but they raise their rate a little bit. But when
it
they
makes
do
it better
use
for
it,
me.
then they kick back to you.
It's kind of like a gift card, right? Like I'll make money regardless. It's even better if they don't use that gift card that they got for Christmas.
Yeah, but the Airbnbs might want to do that because they're not going to want to pay you for stuff that's just money off their thing. But if they could see what you like, if I'm thinking about it from their perspective, if it's a gamble where let's say they put on an extra $10 or something like that, they offer this additional thing and people take it, and if they don't use it, or if they just include it by default and then they up their rates because they're a better, they've got these extra perks, they're taking a gamble, um, that they're not going to use that feature and that they'll be able to keep that money that they charge extra for that.
I'm
And
not
but then if
following.
they do, then they just give you the money for it.
I'm not following. Okay, you're the Airbnb owner. Okay,
Yeah.
so you on the Airbnb website or app, you provide your unit. All right, and your unit is $100 a night. Okay, and then you expose an option or a bundle, right? Where hey, if you want this unit with beach accommodations in case you're here for vacation and you're going to be going to the beach, then we'll then this will cost $125 a night. Okay.
Yeah.
The some random customer XYZ opts into the bundle package for $125 a night. They opt into it. They paid for it. They pulled out their credit card and they selected 125 a night with the bundle package. What's the caveat for it?
Nothing. That makes all sense. I'm saying that I don't know if that I don't know how the Airbnb people would do that, or if they would do that. I'm just saying from their perspective, like I could imagine them being like, we have it as $100 a night. Um, One thing is that they keep it at 100, but they add this in as another way to try to attract people to it, or they raise it to 125 flat always for everything, and they add this in as a way to potentially attract people. And then what they do is they advertise it as not like a thing that you're gonna want immediately, but as it's available. So it's but then what they do is they, if somebody comes and they don't use the service, they collect 125. Now they're up where they weren't getting it before.
Yeah.
But if they come in and they do use it, then they pay you. Like that would seem more like, I mean,
No. I would, theoretically speaking, without putting too much thought into it, the bundle is 125 a night, meaning that I'm charging them, or the Airbnb person is including 25 additional for my services, right? I'm giving the Airbnb person out of that $25, $10. So they make an extra 10%, right? Just for that person opting into that bundle each night. So they make $30 for a weekend, right? And so regardless of if they use it or not, they might use it once and not even bother the other 2 days. And so like the arrangement is that Airbnb owner is going to get, like, if for this case or example, they're going to get their $10 addition or 10% more each night, regardless.
yeah, I don't know how the logistics of that would work though. That would depend on the Airbnb person being like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you when I receive this extra $25 every time, even if you have no record that they actually did it." I would just keep it for myself. That's what I'm saying is you're probably not going to make money off of
I,
stuff that's not used.
I am. So, you see how like my
Yeah.
demeanor's changing. Um, I think I am, because there's going to be a specific um, like promo code that's attached, because they still have to go through the app, right? When they're at the beach, it's included, but they still have to go through the app. When they go through
No,
the app,
yeah.
they
Yeah,
put
but
in
if
the
they don't
promo
use it,
code.
then you'd have no idea that they collected that 20 extra 25 bucks. You're not going to make extra on that. I'm saying that
Unless I build some type of integration service with Airbnb, in which
yeah,
Airbnb is now
directly.
like a
Yeah.
platform
Yeah.
that I subscribe to.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh,
what I'm thinking
that's
is,
good that you brought that up.
yeah, but it's still a good thing though, because I mean, if you can get Airbnb people offering this kind of a deal, and then the thing is you will eventually get people that use it, and you will make money off of it. But I would, I don't even know if I'd share the revenue with the people saying, hey, this is what it. Well, you could talk to them. You're gonna want to figure out, what works for their business model, but if they could charge an extra 25 bucks, and what they're doing is they're just speculating that people aren't going to use it, but it makes their property more attractive. So
Yeah,
in the best case scenario, they make their property more attractive, they get more people, they don't use it, they collect more money than they did, so all good around. Worst case scenario for them is that they get more people in, and some people use it, or all people use it, and then you get, like, they have to pay you 25 bucks or whatever. But that's not a bad deal if you're getting more people in. So
if they pocket the $25, and well, first of all, I think probably 90% of people that buy the bundle are going to use it at least once while they're there, one day out of their stay. All right. Um,
Yeah, unless
and
they just
so and so, like, even if that case where someone purchases the $125 bundle instead of the $100 option, and they never use it. Okay, so the owner of the Airbnb gets and they increase their sales by 25%, right, for that stay, and I get nothing. But to be fair, there was no like burden on me. Like if the app wasn't used, then I don't lose any expenses either.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So the
I mean,
Airbnb
I just
person
don't
gains.
profit like they do for free, right?
Yeah,
Um,
but that's probably beneficial to them. Um, I
yeah, I
mean,
mean that's an easy decision for them, right? Yeah, they get to mark it up and hope that it doesn't get utilized every single day.
yeah, or they don't mark it up, and then they put it as a lesser item. They don't actually advertise it as a bundle.
But then
It's
they
something premium, but they just include it as an amenity type thing.
but
Uh,
then I think their rebuttal would be that they risk that the delivery service that if it doesn't follow through on the obligation of making that accommodation at least once when that person is at the beach each day, then they may get a bad rating because they sold that bundle.
yeah,
So that might be their rebuttal, right?
yeah. Another way you could structure it is have it be like a discount, like instead of them actually buying it as part of the one thing, is having it as like a discount rate. Treat it like a discount rate. So it'd be like, they charge $100 a night, and as an option, it's a discount rate with um, to get these beach items or whatever like that.
And then that
Like,
would be a promo code. It would have to be, right?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, where they scan something or they promo code or it's QR code or whatever. Anyways, so they get that, and then I mean, hell, you could actually just store the items at the whatever. Actually, but then why wouldn't they just buy them themselves?
Because they're tourists and they're not going to bring that
No,
back on
I'm
the
talking
plane
about
with them.
The Airbnb person. Like, why wouldn't you just buy it yourself?
Be they they could, um, but with people on vacation, if they're literally not sitting on the beach and they're sitting like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 blocks away from the beach, majority of people that are on vacation that that have disposable income will probably just want to act like they're on vacation and just be catered to. That would be my guess. Do you have poor like college students or people that scrape up money to and they have a very sensitive budget? Absolutely. Um, but I think honestly, believe the
Yeah,
majority
no,
of
I
people
get
that
it.
sign up for the service, that it's not an issue. They're coming to South Beach to floss, relax, and just spend money irresponsibly. I
Yeah,
don't know if
no,
you ever
no,
been
I
to
get
South
it.
Beach. You've been to Vegas, so
Yeah.
yeah,
No, no, I get it. Plus there's the thing of having to lug all of that up
yeah,
the beach or whatever when they could just tell you where they're going and meet you there or whatever. Um, or you could
yeah.
go and set them up a spot ahead of time.
And
And
remember,
then,
like I still got music. I still got the Bluetooth music equipment. I got the canopies. FedEx is pissing me off, man. I logged a complaint against them yesterday, man. I bought like this $180 wagon, collapsible, right, for hauling stuff to the beach, and like they won't deliver it to me. I have a gate, and they're not even going to the directory to tell me they're here. They say, oh, the gate's locked, and that's it, right? I know I'm jumping in subjects, but man,
mhm.
they're pissing me off lately. The same people that dropped off my music equipment, $1,000 worth, at my door with the box showing what it is a stereo or two of them. They just walk off. They don't knock on the door. They just leave it there. So Miami gets on my nerves.
Yeah. But anyways, what I was saying is they say, we give you 50% off this beach rental service or something like that. Then they come in, they use it, so they get their rental price or the delivery for 50% off, and then you collect 50% from the Airbnb person or whatever. With the again, the idea that they can make their properties seem more appealing. Maybe
Yeah, when you provide options, I would argue, a large demographic of people that then spend time investing in those or investigating those options, and so now their attention is focused, and now their mind believes that, okay, I need to pick from these two, and they completely forget to step out of the picture and realize that there's other things from other providers, right? So I think it's a way of like getting someone's investment of attention, and then getting them to pick from the options that you provide, and you pretty much give them tunnel vision, right?
Yeah. Anyways, if there's a way this works with the hotels, there's probably a way that it'll work for disruptive services doing the same thing.
Second is, so I recruited through verbal agreement 2 food trucks, pretty much ride around on my motorcycle and then pull up on a food truck and spend like 10 minutes pitching to them. I really think there's a loophole with city parking, like the city lots. I think there's a loophole. And so they park in the city lot. They're closed for takeout, but they're still preparing and cooking.
Yeah.
And it's delivery only. And I mean, I ran it by some cops, and they're like, I mean, there's still some codes about you have to be so far from a street curb, and you have to be so far from any other building. But I think if they park in the center of a lot, I think code compliance literally has to invent some new codes for just because of me.
No, they should just get rid of all the codes, man. Just let it run wild.
Okay. So I don't know. Make long story short, I'm the more I build, the more options I have to dwell on. So I don't know. I've just been writing integration tests, trying to make sure that stuff is nailed down as much as possible before I commit to UX.
Cool. You all set for your Memorial Day deadline?
Oh, yeah, that was a deadline.
4th of July. 4th of July deadline, I meant. So
I've been dealing with Alibaba, but I'm scared to like schedule a shipment because I gotta leave this apartment or this unit because my landlord's putting it up for sale, and so I don't want to have a I don't know, $500 or $2,000 shipment coming in from China, and I no longer have access to this address to sign off on it. So things are in flux, man. My life is in flux. Finally, I'm starting to rebound with the little money that I have left. I went all in on AMC 2 days ago.
Oh, did you? Haven't watched it? Did it jump?
It's jumping like every day.
Oh, nice.
So I bought in at like $19.
Oh, heck, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the pre-market alone is above 15% as of this morning.
Should have gone in on Ford.
Really? What's happening with Ford?
Since they announced their EV truck. which
Where,
was
where were they
only like,
before? They
well,
were
look,
at,
on Tuesday they were at $12 and now they're at 14. So, well, maybe that's not as good as
no, I mean a
whatever, but
month
it's,
ago they were at $12.50.
yeah.
It's crazy how like people laughed at Elon Musk like maybe 5 years ago, including I will watch like Kramer videos of him dogging Tesla, and now he's they're the market leader. That's crazy.
So Ford peaked in April of 1999 at about, or was it April of 99? At about $30 a share, $32 a share. So, but they're in an upswing right now. They announced their Ford F-150 Lightning electric vehicle. So, so it's going to be like a F-150 with that's EV that gets, was it like 300 miles per charge or whatever it's supposed to do, and it's going to come in, start at under 40,000 or around 40,000.
I mean, the good thing is this kind of forces infrastructure now. Now that you got major players introducing their concept in production of the electric vehicle.
Yeah, I wonder how fast it's going to be
They,
to charge a freaking truck though.
I mean, they need to standardize on the actual like outlets though, the the interfaces. I think Europe has a standard, but
Yeah.
you know what's interesting is like Musk has been getting on my nerves because he's costing me a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you have to admit, I understand that he didn't invent the electric car. He didn't invent the reusable rocket. Like a lot of people get this confused. They think that Steve Jobs invented the iPhone and Elon Musk invented like they think these people are inventors. No, these people are just slave masters. They know how to crack the whip really, really well on other people. They know how to corral. They're people herders, right? Instead of herding cattle, they herd people. Um, but what's very interesting about both of them, Jobs and Elon Musk, is usually people have to die for disruption or just life altering change to occur. Like people have to die off, right? Hence Congress being a nursing home and the systemic policies that we're plagued with today. But they overcame that without killing anybody. Hey, Roman, why is it that some of these people are world changers and other governments have to go to war to enforce change? You have two individuals, and then you have governments that literally have to kill people to get what they want to make change happen.
What do you mean that they have to kill people to make change happen?
So, okay, the way that war works is in order for a group of people or a tribe to get what they want, but there's another person or a group of people that don't want to give it to them, then those people need to be removed in order for that group of people to get what they want. As long as those other people are living and become impediments to what the other people want, then they need to die, right? So usually change occurs when people die. And so sometimes a government will expedite people dying off, not through old age, by killing them or dropping a mortar on them, right? But what I'm saying is there's some individuals that completely like change the world. You can argue for the better in regards to the motivation that ends up having side effects or consequences for how it's actually used or leveraged. But like it's just interesting how this government, as well as a lot of other developed countries, has a undeniable hunger and dependency on oil, right? And we depend on OPEC, or we have this love hate relationship with Venezuela, maybe. Um, and then there's some dreamers that come along that just not only do they dream big, but they have pocketbooks of a lot of money, right? And they just figure out how to corral people and and produce something that ends up taking off, that actually like becomes a catalyst of a chain reaction that enforces change without people actually dying off for it to happen. And so I'm just saying, like, what is so different about Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, where they literally changed the way that we operate today? They changed the way that they just changed like daily life for everybody. Um, and now,
Mm,
like,
I
the
don't I don't
okay,
know about jobs. Actually, I don't know about either of them doing that.
okay,
Really being the thing. They were just the most successful at it.
we're walking cyborgs because of Steve Jobs.
No, no, we're not. Not because of Steve Jobs. Everything that they built, somebody else built too. There's nothing special they did other than their marketing.
Prior to 2008, what the smartphone was in 2008, right? The iPhone.
Yeah. No, the BlackBerry was long before that.
The BlackBerry was a business phone. It wasn't a smartphone.
It was a smartphone. I had Blackberries at the same time or before an iPhone.
The BlackBerry had an app store.
Yeah. It just the thing is that iPhone did it better. They didn't do anything like extraordinary. They just focused in on core principles about design and whatever. They're not inventing something like brand new. They're just doing something better. Same with the electrical vehicle. They've been around for a long time. It's just
What what
they're
was it?
finding a way to make it viable.
Yeah, but I would argue that with the smartphone came the rise of social media. Was social media there before? Sure,
Maybe.
on the desktop and on a web page. But what happened is people automatically just started focusing on their handheld devices. They wouldn't look up. They would fall into potholes. They would car accidents would surge. Like
Yeah,
I
but
don't. This wasn't going on with BlackBerry. It
you're
wasn't.
assuming that they were. It's just in lesser quantities. It's just you're assuming that they made it happen versus it happening naturally and them being the ones that benefited from it. Um, I guess there could be some kudos for seeing a market trend and capitalizing on it, but really, if they weren't going to do it, somebody else was going to do it because of the way that technology is advancing and what things were. BlackBerry could have continued to go on further and continued to be the leader in that space, and they would have won out. Um, I don't think that's I don't know what innovations Steve like they did. They've done little innovations on top of platforms, but
They had an iPod that was very, very nice. The interface was very nice, and it was
yeah,
handheld, and everybody pretty much said, because you remember iPods, right?
yeah. I remember MP3 players too.
Yeah, and so like this handheld iPod, and people were like, "Why can't this be a phone? Why can't I make calls on this?" And I mean, that's pretty much. I think that's where it started, right?
Well, no, I mean that was just I think that was the obvious like next step or whatever
Yeah,
from that, but it wasn't. They didn't like invent the mobile phone, and they didn't invent a mobile phone capable of playing music or to be an MP3 player.
no, they did not. But they completely altered the human machine interaction with the phone. They did.
Yeah, the only thing they
They
did was a
did.
touch screen is
No, no,
what
no,
they
no,
put
no, no,
on
no,
it.
no, no. It wasn't what I'm saying is they completely altered the humans' interaction with something that was somebody supposed to make calls. Now people are taking. I watched this dude at Starbucks do a photo shoot about his drink that he had in his hand. Like it completely altered people's behavior, right?
Yeah,
It,
but
it
that wasn't necessarily like their ingenuity that led to that.
is
It
their
was just
platform. Yes, it was.
no,
Okay.
no. I put very little stake in believing that most of these people really made anything happen. They just were the best at doing it at the time that it was going to happen naturally. Because there are other players. It's like so Apple go back in time further, with their the Apple II and the launch of that. They just made a really decent,
We're talking
computer.
about we're talking about two
Um,
different things.
but no, that was the Apple II was a bigger leap probably than the iPhone. But it was
You're what I believe you're discussing is plastic and metal. What I'm discussing is the fact that they took plastic and metal and then they fabricated a platform in a marketplace and teen suicides and a whole bunch of other things. I know that's pretty negative, but
yeah,
like
but
I'm talking about the platform that they built as a result or as a consequence.
I don't think that they did anything. I don't think that they did anything ingenious there or revolutionary in terms of they were just the leaders at something that was going to happen anyways. It's just they happened to be the winners.
You say that it was going to happen anyways, but it was consistently, whether it was Nokia, Qualcomm, um, Ericsson, the phones all had the same interface. They all did. BlackBerry, they all had a tactile keyboard. Like it. So your argument of it was going to change anyway. Sure, but if it wasn't Apple, who really had plans to revolutionize the user interface of that phone?
Yes.
It was
So
already
what
working.
you're getting it down to what we're doing is we're whittling this all back.
Okay.
We're whittling this all back to the fact that they made it a touchscreen.
Yes.
That was their one addition. Um, yeah, it's kind of to Roman's point. It's the thing is they market well, they polish, they had the pockets to do it. But the thing is I think if you would have taken away the touchscreen, we still would have had some of this stuff come up, and it would have happened eventually that somebody would have said, "Hey, why do we have these tactile keyboards?" It could have been Nokia, it could have been Samsung, it could have been a number of players. It's LG, Motorola. The Razer phone was really popular at the
It
time.
it was. We can agree to
Yeah.
disagree. I don't think would it have happened
Oh,
eventually.
there you go, Roman. LG had a touch screen before the iPhone, so they didn't even invent that. They just took something else and did it better. Because like even going back to like Macintosh and the all the GUI improvements, that was all Xerox PARC. They just stole it and made it profitable and
I'm,
brought it and made it like accessible.
I'm
So
googling. I'm googling it right now. It was 2006. Let me share my screen. Do I have an accent?
do you have an accent?
Yeah,
Not really.
I didn't think so either.
You have maybe a slightly different dialect than or whatever. Like,
That's a PDA.
yeah, oh yeah, PDAs had this before. I forgot all about PDAs. And in
Yeah.
fact, I think they had an iPod Touch before they made it a phone. So it wasn't like they like that was just a next logical extension to put something that could make phone calls in it. But yeah, so it's not like they revolutionized anything. They just had the right confluence of technology with the right marketing at the right time for society to take off with it. So I don't think that you know excuse me, Steve Jobs came in and said, "Hey, this is something that nobody knows that they need, that no one's ever seen before, that we're going to go on and I've introduced something that changed the world." It's really not. They just happen to be the leader at the time that it like naturally was going to happen. Somebody would have hit the space harder than them if they had the time, the resources, and the energy to do it. And there was plenty of players that could have probably. I'm guessing that there was 3 or 4 different companies making these kinds of things that at the same time that Apple just came out first, or had the because of the success of the iPod, had enough thing. Now I don't know. Did they invent the MP3 player? Is the next question. I'm guessing they didn't. I'm guessing that that's something that they saw and they took and they made it into an iPod, and then it was their marketing and the quality that they put into their products just made it successful. They didn't invent anything they invented their own version of a computer, like the Apple One and Apple Two. They were just, I don't know what made them successful at getting that to Apple Two to mass market. But obviously that put them on the map. That was probably the only thing that, whatever happened there with getting the Apple One in stores and getting it popular enough where he could get a deal to mass produce the Apple II, that was the probably the biggest thing that Steve Jobs ever did. Everything after that is just, hey, you got the money and time and everything and whatever. But he's also a big asshole. He forced people to work long hours and stuff and have competing fights, within the same company.
Name one person that's not a jerk that I won't say revolutionizes, but changes the world, the way the world behaves.
Who changed the world?
Like when you have people that are pretty much doing things that have never ever been done before, and they're able to scale it, and they completely disrupt an industry when they when they dethrone Japan in regards to them being the market leader in electronics, and they completely revolutionized and put America on the map for handheld phones. Like, what person is a nice guy that is just a pleasure to just be around? Like, no, it's people that hold themselves to extremely, extremely high standards, and they want other people to work to their standard, not below them. They don't want people to be comfortable. They want people to push, 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 push. And if you drop, well, fuck it, it's a death march. Get somebody else and keep pushing, right? So, I mean, that's the way
Yeah.
I
I'm
view
not
it.
saying I'm saying that just the thing is I don't understand why people put Apple on this pedestal. They have money now, so they can spend time building out things. They just their thing is that they made good quality products and they won in a race that was probably being fought that they didn't even know they were racing in. But they didn't seek to come out and change the world. Changing the world happened naturally.
Mm,
And I don't think Steve Jobs was
what,
half of responsible for very much of that at all.
well, Steve Jobs was the slave master. He cracked the whip. You would you disagree? No, I'll just say it, right?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, based on Steve Jobs' leadership, right? Because I told you, like, he didn't invent the iPhone, right? But based on Steve Jobs' leadership, they invented an industry. I don't recall there being phone repair shops, right? I don't recall there being uh, at malls probably a dozen, depending on the quality of the mall, a dozen booths for phone cases. Like, they created an industry. Would you disagree
They
with that?
did they created an industry. No, I don't think that they did.
Okay.
I think they just are a major player or one out or we're the first successful one within that industry. They didn't create it; it was already there.
So
There
cars,
were there were there were mobile phone cases long before Apple iPhone came out.
yes. Was there a proliferation of mobile phone repair shops? Was there what did your car manufacturers have? What do you call it? Infotainment systems that basically were tightly integrated with phones at that time? No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
but that wasn't them creating it though. They just, like I said, that would have all happened naturally with just let's just leave it at BlackBerry. That would have all
Okay.
happened with eventually with BlackBerry. It's just they came in and did a better version of what BlackBerry was already doing. That's all they did.
Okay.
It made it, and people globbed onto it faster because it was the right time and the right product for them. And they did, their execution was good. I'm not going to take that away from them. I'm not going to say that they didn't make a good product. I'm just saying that they didn't really, they made a good product and it changed the those types of product changed the way things happened, but it wasn't them that made that change. They just happened to be the winner in a space that was moving already.
And they accelerated progress
Yeah.
in that space.
Well, I don't even know that. We don't know what would have happened if they hadn't have pulled out the iPhone. What if they had waited 1 year? Would we be all holding something different? Probably.
If the smartphone didn't come out, I still think Silverlight would be now probably what 13 years later mainstream.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah.
Uh, what's that thing called? From who created Adobe? Adobe had that product that was also a web plugin. It wasn't called Flex. What was it called?
Flash.
Flash.
Yeah,
You
Flash
remember
is wild,
Flash?
more wild. Well, yeah, it never dies, but um,
It's dead.
yeah, just about, yeah.
Like,
It's a security nightmare, but
yeah, but I remember when Flash was like the rage. Right? They were printing books on how to do Flash programming. Right?
a lot of people started game development with Flash.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like the Apple II. Apple II was a huge thing that caused a lot of people to get, like, the older programmers. Um, I found out that there's a term for my sub generation within millennials. I'm a geriatric millennial. People that were
Mm,
born at
you're
the first.
you're slow. I don't understand.
No,
I thought it was
there's
like
this
Jerry. I thought that was a.
geriatric is like an old person or whatever,
Oh,
basically.
I thought Jerry. There was a telethon, right, with Jerry
No,
and a whole bunch of retarded children, and he would do it annually each year, right? I guess that's a
yeah,
double.
geriatric is relating to old people, especially regard to their health care.
No, what
But
am I talking about? There's Jerry like telethon
yeah,
with the retarded kids. Hold up.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Jerry Lewis, MDA labor. Yeah, Jerry Lewis. I thought it was Jerry Lewis. Yeah. He's probably, is he dead yet? 1926 to 2017.
But anyways, geriatric millennials, because there's this between Gen X and um, millennials. There's this like phase where you kind of like fit into either or. You're like transitional, but millennials go from like 85 to like 2000 or something like that. So or from 82 to like 2000, and there's such a vast difference between the people that were born
Yeah,
in
I
the
thought it was
early
80.
80s versus
I thought it was 81
like
because I thought it
80s.
was a 15-year span or something. Because I think I'm on the tail beginning of it.
Yeah, you're probably Gen X, I bet.
We could Wikipedia it. I thought Wikipedia Gen or millennial. Hold up. 1981. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird how the boomers don't understand the terms and conditions of millennials.
Yeah.
I'm the complete opposite of my parents, even my siblings. Like those people are lifers, and I just hop. I
Yeah.
hop, learn, and build.
And a lot of people mistake, like, they think Gen Z are the millennials because the term millennials get popped up so much. But It's really like people that are in their nearing 40, and what would it be? The oldest would be, or the youngest would be, so it was what?
The oldest would be 40, and
96.
the youngest would be I thought 25. I thought it
Yeah,
was
something
15
like that.
years.
Yeah. So anybody like now that's like graduating high school and getting, that's all whatever. But I suppose we're in the peak, our peak, earning years, and then Generation X, which like never gets talked about. It's kind of like they got skipped.
They're irrelevant. They're
Yeah.
like my siblings are Generation X. And they're like it's a completely different behavior. I mean, like obviously we're painting everything with a broad brush, but like I mean things have just changed, man. There's no loyalty to business. We saw that in 2008 how they treated us. So it's like whatever.
Hmm. So my kids are going to be Generation Alpha, apparently. Gen Alpha. Starting at 2010s to the mid 2020s will be Generation Alpha, the first generation born entirely in the new century.
You think
Wow.
things are going to get better or get worse?
I think it's gonna get better.
I think it's going to
Everything
get
always
worse.
gets better,
I
man.
think things will get better after the next significant war between developed countries, and then
Yeah.
we're going to rethink and produce new policies to never return to what led us to this point.
I don't know, man. You look at when we say things are getting better, um, like just look at like let's just say 100 years worth of difference between where we are today and versus 100 years ago, and just compare, and then 200 years ago,
Yeah,
just compare. Like technically, we all live like kings if you compare us to the average life of a person 100 or 200 years ago. We're but we can't see because we have no frame of reference of how bad things were. Just think of how far we've come with just sanitation in like 200 years. Like we don't have shit running through the streets, at least in the United States, right?
I agree, but I
I
think
mean,
as much as we have more, we're also burdened with more, right? And so
wow.
like
But it's all,
were
but
there
it's, are we though?
okay
That's all mental like burden because it's, the news and stuff like that. Like there's mental constructs we're creating, but if you just sit back and think about where you are and how you are and what you have and what you're capable of, like you can travel to foreign countries,
I,
you
I
can go and eat like whatever food you want on any day of the week,
I get that, but
at least in the US.
I understand that like 100 years ago is probably 3 billion less people, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but what I'm curious about is the diagnosis, and I'm sure that the way that people were diagnosed are probably completely different um, today compared to 100 years ago. But how many people are suffering from mental illness, right? Like I bring this up because yeah, we have a lot. We're living like kings or emperors, but there's a lot of things that like I feel like I know for a fact we're more stressed out than 100 years ago. Did they have to do way more labor and feed themselves and maybe work the land and stuff like that? Sure, but like what percentage of humanity really has peace of mind today compared to 100 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not something documented, but I'm guessing it's about the same.
I don't
maybe
think
maybe
so.
there's just less mental stuff to worry about, and maybe the
I think
idle hands type thing because we have so much time on our hands.
I think
We
we
have to
have
invent problems.
I think we have way more drug addicts than 100 years ago,
Well, we
right?
just have more drugs, so than 100 years ago. It's just
Yeah, because we
yeah,
have more everything.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily. I'm just saying, like that's probably like it's a fraction of the society,
Like
right?
my argument is, I agree with you. Like we live nice. I live nice compared to the way I was raised and compared to how my parents were raised. Like, yeah, I'm balling to most of the people I grew up with, right? I don't really do much.
Yeah,
I was working out on the beach today during the sunrise, right? So like, yeah, my lifestyle is like on point relative to other people, but like you you think about what we have and what we deal with, and how many people are really happy. What's the divorce rate? Like you think about all this stuff, and I could promise you, 100 years ago, the divorce rate wasn't 50%. And so, like, I know I'm being hella downer and negative, but what I'm saying is there's so much crap that's inundating us with our material possessions and our ease of life that we don't focus on trying to get by anymore. We focus on what we don't have and why we want it, and envy and jealousy. And so we have all this time where we literally have so much. We're like the aristocrats, man. I assume, this is me being ignorant, but I would assume that, like, if you're talking about like hundreds of years ago or whatever, like the majority of people, probably like more than 90%, 95% of people, they didn't have time to think. They didn't have time to think. They had to work and earn a living, right? They couldn't figure out if they
oh,
could do
I'm sure
things
that
better.
I'm sure they were thinking. I'm sure they were thinking, if I don't get this thing, or if the wind comes in wrong, I'm not going to be able to get a crop, and I'm not going to be able to feed my family.
They weren't thinking
Yeah,
about the laws of physics. They weren't thinking about
worse about
9.8 meters
survival.
per second squared. They weren't thinking about,
Well,
what Plato
some
or
people
thought
were.
about, or Socrates thought about, or Pythagoras thought
Yeah,
about. Right? Those people had money and had time to think and test ideas. Today, we're not that different from them, except instead of taking the time we have to really marinate and figure out how we can evolve, we just spend our time like watching the Kardashians. All right. And
yeah. But
so
at the same time, somebody's creating the Kardashians, and somebody is creating movies and things like that.
your
There's a
one
lot of good.
percenters, yeah, but I would argue those are your one percenters that are actually creating anything. The vast amount of people literally consume what the one percenters create. They don't
Yeah,
produce anything else. Like almost all of us, all we do is consume.
yeah. Full circle back to the to like the iPhone and the iPad kind of a thing. That's one thing that I actually just I really hate about the concept of a tablet, is that it has very limited input capabilities, which means it is almost purely a consumption device. I mean, there is a like you can do a little bit with your finger or a stylus, but
Yeah.
you're not creating anything. It's not like having a keyboard at your hands where you can enter things and make things happen.
I
You know, you can
always thought
write, you can code, you can yeah.
it was always weird to me, like when you remember there used to be, like, I don't know, car shows, in major cities,
Yeah.
um, before COVID, and I always thought it was weird and like counterproductive for the people to carry around their iPads, and how long it would take for them to enter data into a page. Like, but the iPad was like it's a status symbol, right? But it just didn't feel
Yeah. They
natural.
got the things and then they're like
Yeah,
tick
they're
tick
like
tick
there's
tick
no
tick tick tick
tactile
tick
like or
tick.
haptic feedback, and they're like,
Yeah. What's your email address? Tick tick tick
yeah,
tick
and
tick
they would
tick
spend
tick
like
tick
2 minutes
tick
trying to put
tick
in
tick
someone's
tick tick.
address.
Oh, next tick 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 tick
All
versus
right,
like what's your
so
email
you
address?
so you agree with me for the first time in this whole session, right? On that part,
Oh, I agree with you on a lot
yeah,
of things. I just
I
yeah.
don't think so.
We need to be more optimistic maybe.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyways, I gotta get going here. I gotta
All right, it's been
get
real.
ready for work, get some coffee. All right.
Thanks for the encouragement. We'll catch up. See you. Bye.
Yep, see you.
And whoever's viewing, listening in the background, take care. Bye. See ya.